This is a very quick and short video about how you should attempt your examination. However, please note that this is for the midterm examination and not the final exam. This is part 1 where I'm going to give you general guidance regarding the exam, and in the second part I'm going to talk specifically about the paper pattern, and that second part is going to include sample questions and answers. In particular, I'm going to be focusing on how you should attempt a case study question because most students are worried about this type of question. Okay, so without any further ado, let's get straight into it. So the most frequently asked question is whether length matters or not, especially when you're attempting a longer question, that is a case study question, which may be a 5-mark or a 10-mark question. And the answer is a straightforward big no, that no, the length does not matter. So as long as you feel that you've answered the question that is in front of you, then please don't worry about writing too much. Please focus on the quality and not the quantity, and as a rule of thumb, remember that less is more. And in case you don't know what that means, let me explain it very quickly. So what happens is that when a student, usually trying to impress the teacher, starts writing all they know about a topic, that is all that they can think about that topic, even when they know, for example, that this particular point is not important, it's not relevant to the question that is being asked right now, even then, just because it's related to the topic that the question is about. So just to increase the length of the answer and again hopefully to impress the teacher, they end up writing everything related to that particular topic. So do you think this kind of answer is going to get a higher score? No. This is precisely why I just said that less is more, because the teacher is going to be more impressed by the student who answers the question that has been given by the teacher, and the answer shows and it reflects that the student has read the question, understood the question, and the student is able to specifically choose the information that is relevant to the question in front of the student and not start writing all they know about that particular topic in general. Why? Because you see, even dividing information, that is the relevant information from the irrelevant information, is a skill that a student is expected to develop in the course of their studies, and if you can't demonstrate that skill in your answer, that is, you can't understand what the question is asking and what the question is not asking, then obviously the teacher is never going to get to know which student has actually written so much just because they did not understand the question, or which student has written so much even though they understood the question, however they decided to write a lot just to impress the teacher. So the teacher is obviously never going to know that. So make sure that you at least attempt to try to understand what exactly the question is asking, because the exam is obviously going to take place under timed conditions, so the teacher is not going to expect you to write too much anyways. So coming back to what I said earlier, less is more. Just try to identify specifically what the question is asking and show the teacher that you did at least bother to read and understand the question. So when you end up writing lesser than somebody else who writes everything they know about the question, then that is when the less is more rule applies. That is, the teacher can see who spent some time thinking about the question and before answering it, and of course who didn't do that. So always remember that whoever writes lesser may end up getting more marks than one who writes too much. So try your best to interpret the question that is given in front of you and make sure that you write only the relevant points and don't include everything that you know about that particular topic in general. Okay, now I'm pretty sure all of you must be thinking, how are you going to know what to write, how much to write, what not to write, and how much time to dedicate to each question, and of course how much time to dedicate according to the marks that have been allocated to that particular question. So these are some frequently asked questions and I'm going to address them one question at a time. However, I'm going to talk more specifically about these particular aspects when I show you the sample questions and answers in the other video that includes the paper pattern as well. For now, I'm just providing this very quick outline, that is, these are some of the questions that I am going to answer when I talk about specific questions in context. And in that other video, I'm also going to be specifically providing contextual examples, that is how in a particular question you can plan your time according to the marks given and how you can identify what's relevant to the question and what's irrelevant, and that is basically what sifting relevant from irrelevant points is all about. Generally, in a case study, remember that you have to decode the question, that is, you have to interpret the question, that is, you have to break down the question, and that is going to help you understand what exactly the question is asking. And as you will see in that other video, that it's in a case study, it's very easy to see where the story begins and where it ends, and where the question actually begins after the story comes to an end. And you will see that interpreting the question is not that difficult, that is, seeing what the question is asking and what it is not asking. By the way, these are both equally important. However, I personally think that the latter, that is, what the question is not asking, is usually more important, so that you're able to see what the irrelevant points are and what exactly you don't have to write in the question. And before I move on, topic spotting is one very important area that I want to address in this particular video, that is the all I know type of answers, which are also considered as standard pre-prepared answers. See, let me make it clear that standard pre-prepared answers are good. However, to a certain extent they are good, but please don't be misled by the fact that once you have ratified, that is, memorized a standard answer, you can just throw it in the exam, whatever the question is asking. Please don't do that. Always remember that the teacher has spent a lot of time in designing the question and drafting the question. So I expect as a teacher that as a student you are also going to spend a little bit of time in interpreting what exactly the question is asking, instead of writing, instead of thinking that you don't care what the teacher is asking. Here is all I know about this topic, so this is what I'm going to write. And of course, one point related to this issue is what students do is they write an introduction and a conclusion which specifically addresses the question that is given, that is, they try to fool the teacher by gift wrapping the answer. So imagine getting a Nokia 1100 wrapped inside a beautifully packed iPhone box. How are you going to feel when you open that box? The same feeling happens when a teacher sees an answer that has an introduction that is addressed to the specific question that is asked. However, and by the way, the conclusion is also addressed to the question. However, when you look at the content of the answer, that contains everything they know about the topic. And the teacher can see very clearly that the student has not bothered to read the whole question. They've just identified the topic. That is what topic spotting is about. So they just see the keyword in the question and identify the topic, and then they start writing all they know about that topic. To take one specific example, if the question is about trademark registration, they're going to include everything they know about trademarks, the definition, the examples, the international system, everything, even though the question is just asking about the local registration process, for example. Or for example, if you're attempting a company law question and the question is about associations not for profit, and the question is specifically asking only for the criteria that you need to fulfill in order to, but the student decides not to bother to read the question or understand the question and just starts writing all about associations not for profit, the definitions, the examples, the reasons why a license may be revoked, the effect of the revocation of license, and so on and so forth, all of which is not relevant to the question that is asked. Okay, so I want to keep this video as short as possible, so I'm not going to be discussing the remaining points in too much detail. You can read the relevant slides that I've posted in the video. But very briefly, remember to focus on the key words in the question. So look at whether the question is asking for a list of things. Is the question asking for a definition? Is it asking you to state something in briefly or in detail? And most importantly, read the whole question. So don't just read half of the question and then miss the why at the end. For example, the question may state, it may be a yes or no question, but then it goes on to state, if yes, why? If not, why not? Then remember to read the whole question and don't miss these types of endings. Obviously, look at the marks. If it's a 5-mark or a 10-mark question, then a yes or no answer is not going to be enough. You have to give reasons for your answer. Right, so let's move on. Remember that I spoke earlier about the marks allocation. So if it's an 8-mark question, then it means that it requires 6 to 7 points, obviously including the introduction and conclusion other than the points. And obviously it does not mean that for an 8-mark question you have to write 15 to 20 points. So the marks is the best indicator for a question about how much you need to write. So once again, like I said earlier, don't just dive into the question. It's not a swimming pool that you can jump into. So please give yourself 2 to 3 minutes to read and understand the question and see exactly what it is asking. Right, so that brings me to the very last point that I want to talk about in this video, and that is about bullet pointing. So if time runs out, which does happen under exam pressure in examination conditions, so if that happens, don't panic. Just write the bullet points that are related to the question, obviously not some random bullet points. And in the sample question and answers that I talk about in the other video, you will see that I have written the answers in bullet points. because obviously in the sample answers I have not written the entire essay, I have just provided an outline. So please have a look at the other video where I have included the sample answers and questions. For now, this is the end of this video. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me.